Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tip Tuesday, where we at the Mogul Group interview various experts in the field to talk about things that you need to know about all things real estate. So today, we have a special treat. One of the top realtors on the Mogul team, Maya, is actually in the field right now as we speak, in between showings from one buyer to another. And we thought, hey, you know what? This is the time of the year where people get shopping. We get out there, we start looking at houses, we start viewing houses, we're out on tours with our realtor. And you know what? For somebody who hasn't been house shopping in a while, or maybe someone who's never been house shopping, it's like, how the heck do I even get ready for this? So I'm going to ask Maya a couple of things that all buyers need to know before they actually get out there physically viewing houses. Maya, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So what part of the town are you in today, Maya?
I am on the north side.
North side. I love it. I love it. And you're just about to get out there and start looking at some houses with one of your happy buyers.
You betcha.
Fantastic. Okay, so let me just ask you some questions to get some of the best tips that we can get about house shopping. So maybe let's start from the beginning. When a client wants to go view houses, what's the best way for them to tell you which houses they want to view, or what are some of the different ways they can communicate that?
There is a whole bunch. So whatever their form of communication would be, whether it's texts or emails or phone calls and making notes, that's always nice. So this way, anything in messages, you can always reference back, and anything in an email, you can look back on a thread. That's usually, I think, the preference to be able to reference.
Got it. So it looks like this is one of the funnest things about a live broadcast is maybe Maya has dropped off, which is a bummer. So I'm just going to keep going with some of these tips, and hopefully Maya rejoins the conversation. So the next question I was going to ask Maya is, what do you do if you're driving around a neighborhood and you see a property that you like? So a lot of buyers will do this. You've got your buyer's realtor, you've got your buyer's agent, and you're driving around and you see a sign for sale, you want to check the place out. Well, keep in mind, that sign is for the selling realtor. That person works for the seller. So if you want a private showing, write down the address, take a picture of the property, take a picture of the sign, send it to your buyer's realtor. They'll set up a showing for you. Keep in mind, you can't just pop in. People are still usually living at the house, so it does need to be organized and arranged. Okay, next. So now your realtor has the properties that you want to see. You've texted them. I prefer getting the MLS number, which is like E42123455. That's the E number. It says MLS number. So my personal preference when I'm working with my buyers is I like to have those MLS numbers. So please send those through so it's easy to book. So we're booked, we're scheduled. How much time should you give your realtor in advance? Well, in a hot market like we're experiencing in Edmonton and Vancouver, sometimes you want to drop what you're doing and go view a property right away. So always know that if the property is perfect and you love it, you should be able to message your realtor and just at the drop of a hat go see the place with little warning. But for the most part, we typically find scheduling viewing houses anywhere from 2 days to a week in advance is pretty good. So usually I will, like on a Tuesday, schedule Friday showings, and then we'll go see everything that's available on the Friday. So that's about how much advanced warning that we want to give our clients. So Maya, welcome back. I kind of stole a little bit of your thunder and answered the next question for you. So we're just going to jump back in where we left off. So we've set the stage. I've told the viewers how much time they need to give advance warning for their realtor to go viewing houses. So now the next question is, we're going to go view houses. And keep in mind, we're still dealing with some COVID concerns. So typically, where do you like to meet your clients? Is it at the first property? Do you guys meet up at a coffee shop? Like, where's the staging area to go viewing?
When we're ready to go view, I personally like to meet them at the first house, and then we kind of just travel together from there.
Right.
Just because when we're ready to go and view, we should have already had the conversations or Zoom meetings or been able to set our schedule from there. So I like
Got
to
it. So
usually meet
it's
them at house one.
it's go time. I love it. And
Yeah.
you know, I know that in a pre-COVID world, sometimes it would be normal for the client to ride with the realtor in their vehicle, but nowadays, what are you finding most typical?
To follow, just to kind of ride like side by side, or have
Yeah,
them
like a little
follow me
tandem
there.
caravan thing, right?
Yeah, just for everybody's comfort, I think is the way to go, and better safe than sorry, right? Just to
I think you're
make sure
absolutely
everybody's
right.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's best to take separate vehicles right now. So, you know, I mean, you'll follow behind the realtor and away we go. Okay.
Yep.
So we've met at the house. The clients are excited. Is there anything the clients should bring or do to get ready to make sure that they're in good shape for their viewings?
I'll always tell them to bring a pen, because
Mhm.
sometimes when you're looking at so many places, it's super exciting, but sometimes it could get overwhelming. So I like for them to make notes as to what they like and don't like.
Got it.
I always bring them a little booklet of what our schedule looks like, so that this way they can make notes on the back of the listing.
Perfect.
Just to reference back on the details and stuff, and what they liked and didn't like about it.
Got it. Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. Now, are people allowed to take pictures of houses they really like?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some people shopping from Calgary right now, so I'll FaceTime with them when I'm at the house previewing homes for them.
Got
I
it.
usually like to make sure it's okay with the selling agent first, so I'll tell them like, hey, do you mind if we do this, just to keep them in the loop.
Perfect. Now, inside the house, what is it like? Are clients allowed to like look in the closets or check out cabinetry or anything like that, or what's kind of the policy on that?
I know a lot of people like to open the pantry doors or like the closets just to check the size of them and everything, which is okay. I usually like to do that for them, because I'll either be wearing gloves or I'll walk
Right.
through with wipes. But I think that's usually the extent. I mean, there's no reason to open up drawers and things like that. They're not staying
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, so if there's things that you want to see, ask your realtor to open it for you because of the COVID regulations, but don't be shy. I mean, obviously, you want to know how big the closet is because that's an important part of where you're putting your stuff. So, you know, as somebody that's looking at the house, it's perfectly okay to want to look at some of the amenities and storage spaces. I totally get that. Now, Maya, how long does the average showing last? I mean, you know, people always ask, hey, am I spending too much time in the house? Like, what's normal here?
An average showing could be anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour, just depending on the size of the home and what, like, also if somebody walks into a home and they're like, oh, I love this, like, let's look at everything. Of course, it's going to take just a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody walks in and they're like, you know, I'm not quite there. Sometimes they're like, you know what, we could go now. So it could be anywhere between 15 to half an hour on average on the inside of the home.
That makes sense. So, you know, some people, they feel like, oh, well, we're already here, I should look at the whole house. But you're saying if it's a hard no, then no sense in spending too much time on it.
Yeah, and I find that agents usually book for that. Like, I'll usually book a cushion of 15 minutes, just so that if I'm a little early to the next one, or if I'm a little late to the next one, at least just depending on how the first one went. So I think that most agents usually prepare for that.
Makes sense. Now, when the buyer's viewing the house, is the owner home or is it tenant home, or like what is that like?
So the reason why agents like notice before they book their showings is so that they can prepare for that and to make sure that nobody's home, so that you can look at the home freely. There is the odd time when somebody is home, but usually it's nice for the selling agent to be like, look, you know, you're confirmed, but these people will be home because they, you know, have nowhere to go or whatever the case is. So normally they are not home, but I've come to find that there is the odd time on special cases that sometimes you kind of just got to work around them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's always more comfortable to do a showing when you can speak freely and say what's on your mind without the seller kind of watching over what's happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, from a comfort perspective, obviously, you know, we're out there in the field. What is there anything that the buyer should do to make sure they're comfortable? Like, do we Do we bring a snack along? I always like to have a coffee just so I'm energetic. What else do you recommend?
Well, I usually take their order before, and I will bring them a coffee or a tea or something to snack on.
So you make sure you guys are calling Maya for that VIP service.
Just to make sure, but depending on how many we have lined up, I usually tell people to bring a bottle of water just so that, you know, they can enjoy the day. Some sunglasses on days like today, and something they can slip in and out of for convenient showings, footwear-wise, so that they're not kind of strapping up winter boots at this time.
That's a smart idea. Yeah, you don't want to be doing and undoing laces 5 or 6 times or 10 times or whatever. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, you know, along those lines, you know, and speaking of comfort, like how many houses does it make sense to look at in one outing? Like what's too few, what's too many, what's kind of average?
I personally book anywhere between 3 and 5, just because I feel like after the 5 mark, people are kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit tired. But it also depends. So like if there's somebody who I see twice a week, we'll usually go for like about 3 showings, about 3 for that person. If there's somebody who's only in town for the weekend, I try to book them for as many as we can so that we can take advantage of their time while they're here and they can see as much. And with homes going the way they are, I don't want them to miss out on the opportunities just because it's a matter of 15 minutes about per home. So
totally, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense to, if there's multiple houses to see, go see them and check it out. Now, you know, here's one of the age-old questions that I get asked from time to time. Speaking of comfort, and that's are you allowed to use the washroom in a house when you're viewing it? What's the protocol on that? Because I get asked all the time.
It depends. I would say no, just because, you know, like try to do that stuff before, or like if we have a little break in between, can hit a coffee shop, go do it there. But I would say normally no. Try just to do that stuff at home before you go.
Fair enough.
Before you go out for your showings, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, best to be polite. What if the house is vacant? You know, I've had people say, I really have to go.
If the house is vacant, I would almost say that it's almost a hard no, because I've run into situations where the client was like, I really have to go, but the water would be shut off.
Right. So check to make sure the water is, yeah, that's a good point. Because the last thing you want is to be stuck. Yeah, you don't want to be stuck in a house with the water turned off, and then you're really in an awkward spot. So that makes perfect sense. All right. So we've got our showings planned. Now, obviously the point of house shopping is to find a house that you really, really love. I mean, you're not just house shopping for fun, you're house shopping to find the one. So let's say, you know, I think a lot of people are, you know, what happens if they find the house that they like? Are you actually allowed to write an offer at the end of house shopping? Do you have to wait? Like, what's the protocol?
So if we walk into a house and it's like the third one on the list and you're like, wow, I'm ready to make an offer on that, then let's do it immediately after. If you know, you know. It's not something that, like, if you walk in and you're like, I can see myself living here and I'm super comfortable living, like I'm comfortable being here, I'll tell you, like, we should write an offer. Absolutely. Because it's yeah, when you walk in, you know, like.
Got it.
So you can write an offer immediately after.
Got it. So yeah, I mean, if you like the house, you know, especially in the markets that we're in right now, time is of the essence. You might as well get the conversation started with an offer. That's a great tip. Right on. Well, I think that's a lot of useful information. I mean, for someone that's never been house shopping before, it can be a little scary. You don't know what to expect. You know, you're watching all this stuff on Home and Garden TV, and you know the real life reality of going house shopping has a couple of other subtle bits of information in it. So those are great tips, Maya. Is there anything else that our excited house shoppers should know before they get out there and start visiting homes?
I know that it can be a little bit stressful. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but like, it doesn't have to be. It's supposed to be a fun process. It's supposed to be something you enjoy doing. And often, more times than not, if you're working with somebody you're comfortable with, then undoubtedly it's going to be that kind of experience. So I would say in today's market, if you see something that you like, you know, don't be afraid to pursue it. It's an exciting process.
That's awesome. What a great tip. I mean, you're absolutely right. House shopping sure is fun, and it's not something the average person gets to do too many times in their life. So you might as well really enjoy it, because you get to see a lot of cool stuff and have a lot of fun viewing different homes and dreaming about what your life could be like. So Maya, thank you so much for tuning in as our expert on Tip Tuesday. And to all you buyers out there, have a super fun time shopping in this most delightful spring market.